It's 3 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling, and the question isn't whether you can sleep, it's whether you can keep going at all. Most people hit days like that and reach for a distraction, the scroll, the snack, the reset that never quite resets. What Marcus Aurelius offered, writing to himself at night, was something different. Not an escape from hard days, but 8 specific ways to move through them. 8 lessons drawn from Marcus Aurelius, Seneca and Epictetus, practical, tested, and sharp enough to cut through the worst of it. If you've ever needed a way to keep going when everything in you wanted to stop, this is for you. Let's start where the Stoics always started, not with grand strategy, but with the single moment you are actually standing in right now. Life has a way of splitting your attention between the deadline you missed last Tuesday and the problem you're dreading next Monday, while the only moment you actually have any power over, this one, slips past untouched. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That line wasn't written for a podium. Aurelius wrote it privately, in a journal he never intended anyone to read, a Roman emperor talking to himself in the dark, trying to stay grounded under the weight of an empire. The next time a hard day has you spiraling between regret and dread, try this. Feel the air, hear the sounds around you, and come back to the only moment where your choices actually live. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, here. Surviving a hard day isn't about holding the whole mountain. It's about the next step and the next breath and the decision you make in this moment. That's the first of the 8 ways to keep going. And the second one sounds almost insulting when the weight on your chest won't let you breathe. Gratitude. When life pushes you down, gratitude feels almost insulting. Who has time to count blessings when the weight on your chest won't let you breathe? But the Stoics weren't talking about forced optimism. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." He wasn't telling you to pretend things are fine. He was pointing at something specific. There is always something real to acknowledge: the friend who texted to check on you, the coffee that was hot, the fact that you got up. It doesn't have to be large. It has to be true. Gratitude in the Stoic sense is about training your attention, choosing, deliberately, to notice what is still standing rather than cataloging everything that fell. Over time, that training changes what you see when a hard day hits. And here is the part people miss. Gratitude isn't only for the good times. Finding one small thing to acknowledge inside a struggle, not despite the struggle, but inside it, changes how you face it. And that changes everything. Because the practice doesn't change the situation. It changes you. And which version of you shows up to a hard day determines almost everything about how that day ends. The Stoics had an image for where that version is built: the ocean. Think of the ocean. Some days it's still and serene. Other days a fierce storm rolls in and tests every plank of the hull. The Stoics believed your inner world works exactly the same way. Epictetus, a man who had been somebody's property, whose freedom had been taken before he ever had a chance to choose, said this: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Think about the weight of that. A man whose time was never his own, whose body could be controlled by another person, still argued that something remained unreachable: the inner response. Nobody could take that. Building that inner strength isn't a single decision. It's daily choices, small acts of courage, and the willingness to treat every setback as a lesson in disguise. Because external events only hold authority over you if you grant it. External events only hold authority over you if you grant them that authority. The storm doesn't decide how you move through it. You do. And cultivating that inner core is how you stop merely enduring hard days and start sailing toward horizons you once thought unreachable. But inner strength without patience is just tension. And most people stall here, not because they give up, but because they try to negotiate with a flower that opens at its own pace. Have you ever watched a flower open? It doesn't negotiate with the light. It doesn't hasten its bloom because the gardener is impatient. It unfolds at its own pace, revealing its splendor in its own perfect moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Time is a river, a violent current of events glimpsed once and already carried past us, and another follows and is gone." He wasn't lamenting the speed of time. He was pointing out that you cannot command the river. Your impatience right now, about the result that hasn't arrived, the recognition that hasn't come, the situation that hasn't resolved, almost certainly stems from trying to control what time will deliver and when. That was Aurelius's diagnosis 2,000 years ago, and it still holds. Patience, the Stoic kind, isn't passive waiting. It's active preparation, using the time before the right moment arrives to grow into the person who can meet it fully. You're not killing time. You're becoming ready. So when you're standing in the gap, unsure whether your moment will ever come, think of the river. You can't halt the waters, but you can choose how you navigate them. And the choice you make in the gap is what determines who crosses the threshold when it finally opens. Now, patience without clarity is suffering. And the lesson that cuts the suffering in half begins on a stormy night with a single candle. Picture a stormy night. Thunder rumbles, lightning splits the sky, wind tries to knock you sideways. You cannot stop the storm. You cannot silence the thunder or redirect the lightning. But you can light a candle. You can find shelter. You can hold tight to what keeps you grounded. That is not a small thing in a storm, that is everything. Epictetus, whose time was never his own, put it plainly. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. The echoes of that line are everywhere because it's still true. How much of your energy on a hard day goes toward things you cannot change? The message that was misread, the outcome that is already fixed, the other person's reaction. What if that energy went elsewhere, toward your next decision, your next response, your next move? Recognizing what is within your control is one of the most liberating things a person can do. Not because it removes the storm, but because it shows you where to put your hands. And once you know where to put your hands, hard days stop feeling like walls and start feeling like weather. The storm wasn't the story. How you chose to face it, that was the story. And the same idea gets sharpened next on a blacksmith's anvil, under fire and hammer. Imagine a blacksmith with a blade. The metal starts raw, shapeless, worth almost nothing. Then comes the fire and the hammer, intense heat, forceful strike after strike. And with each blow, the blade becomes sharper, stronger, more precise. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." He wasn't romanticizing suffering. He was describing a mechanism, the same process the blacksmith uses, applied to you. Every setback you faced, every season that ground you down, every loss that felt final, each one was doing something. Shaping, refining, exposing capacities you didn't know existed until the pressure revealed them. Learning from adversity doesn't mean seeking out pain. It means refusing to let the pain be wasted. It means asking while you're still in it, what is this trial revealing? What is it building? What does this version of the story teach? Every trial you face is a lesson in disguise, waiting to be unraveled. The blacksmith doesn't curse the hammer. He trusts the process. And the person who learns to trust the process of hard days is the person who comes out the other side as something the hard days could not break. And here is what all of that refining is pointing toward, a quality that outlasts every storm, every setback, every failure. Seneca called it the one thing you should still be learning the day you die. Wisdom is not a gift handed to the chosen few. It is a treasure hidden in plain sight, and the only price of admission is the willingness to keep looking, even when the search is uncomfortable. Seneca said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live. Not how to know more, how to live." That distinction matters. Gathering information is easy. Learning to move through a hard day starts with a harder skill than answering, asking. True wisdom isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions and having the humility to learn from what goes wrong as readily as from what goes right. The person who only learns from their wins is cutting their education in half. Seeking wisdom requires an open heart and a curious mind. It means listening more than you speak, observing more than you perform, understanding that every person you meet, every difficult conversation, every unexpected loss holds a lesson if you're willing to receive it. Wisdom isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a journey that sharpens the mind, broadens the horizons, and enriches the soul mile by mile, day by day, hard morning by hard morning. The person who chases wisdom never stops growing, and that endless growth is what makes the 8th lesson possible. The one that starts with the calm face in the meeting, and what that person is actually carrying. Have you ever paused to wonder what someone else is carrying? Behind the calm face in the meeting, behind the short reply, behind the smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. Marcus Aurelius said, "What injures the hive injures the bee." Simple words, but the depth is significant. We are not separate units managing our own individual survival. We are bound together whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. Compassion isn't pity. Pity is looking down at someone's pain from a safe distance. Compassion is understanding their pain as if it were your own, and then doing something, however small, to help carry it. In a world that rewards performance and punishes vulnerability, compassion is a radical act. It's about listening more than judging, feeling more than observing, and it gives you back something unexpected on the days you have least to give. When you extend that kindness to others on a hard day, when you have little left to give, something unexpected happens. You find a depth of purpose you couldn't reach when you were only focused on yourself. The bond you build, however briefly, pulls you forward too. In the grand design of existence, our threads are interwoven. Choosing compassion doesn't just lift others, it lifts the quality of your own experience. That's the 8th. Now here they are, all 8 in one list. So here are all 8. Embrace the present moment. Practice gratitude. Cultivate inner strength. Practice patience. Know what is within your control. Learn from adversity. Seek wisdom. Cultivate compassion. 8 Stoic ways to keep going, not as theory, but as daily practice. Each one is a tool. None of them require perfect conditions. All of them work best in exactly the moments when everything in you resists using them. The first few times you reach for any of these, it will feel awkward. You'll forget them mid-storm, remember them too late, and apply them imperfectly. That is not failure. That is exactly what the beginning of any real practice looks like. Start badly. That is allowed. What the Stoics understood, and what 1,000 years of hard days have confirmed, is that these questions don't change. What changes, slowly and unmistakably, is the quality of your answers. One morning at a time over years. You are not starting from zero. You started when you kept going the last time things were hard. Every storm you've already navigated is evidence of the inner strength you've already built, whether you named it that way or not. That ceiling you stared at, you got up anyway. That was the first of the 8 at work, even before you had a name for it. The question now isn't whether you can handle hard days. It's what kind of person you'll be when the next one arrives. Stoic wisdom goes deeper than 8 lessons. It's a way of meeting every day that arrives, however it arrives, and applying these ideas when it matters most. For more on Stoic wisdom and how to apply it when it matters most, select one of the videos appearing on your screen now. Each one goes deeper into the ideas that carry you through. If you found this valuable, give it a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss new videos.